everyone, this is Jen. Welcome back to my channel. So today I have a special video for you guys. I just felt like it was right and I really wanted to do this video today for some reason. I've been on YouTube for 8 years now and I'm primarily a beauty guru. You know, I'm in the beauty industry. But I am also someone who does a lot of other topics on my channel. As you guys know, sometimes I do like Korean culture, I do like deeper topics, but I do like a lot of light and fun topics as well. And sometimes I have shared my faith with you guys, my vlogs, a little bit of worship song covers sometimes, and Oppa and I just sitting down and doing heart to hearts with you guys. So I'm sure you guys all know that we're Christian and we believe in God, but I've never shared with you guys my actual testimony. And yeah, I've always wanted to do this video, and so the time is here, guys. So grab a cup of tea and just get ready to sit down and hear me out. I'm an INFP for those who are into MBTI, so I really respect all of your walks of life, and I just don't want to come across as I'm preaching to you or saying that my faith is better or this is the only way. Not at all. But I have received a lot of you guys' requests for my testimony over the years, so I know a lot of you have been waiting for this as well, and it's my first time ever revealing it in public. So I've got my cup of tea. When you guys are ready, I'm gonna get into my story. So just to start, when I was young, my dad kind of went to church for a short amount of time in his life. And I remember when I was young that we would have like nighttime prayers. He would pray for me and my sister, and we would sometimes read our kid Bible, and that lasted for about a year or something. It was a very, very short amount of time. Hi Dad, I know my dad watches my videos, so hello. But I hope you don't mind I'm sharing this. My dad actually kind of left the faith for a very long time, to be real, until our last trip to Australia recently, like a few weeks ago. So actually, me growing up, I grew up in basically a non-religious household, apart from that short amount of time. But my parents actually did send me to a Catholic school. It was a Catholic primary school. I don't think it was because of the faith aspect, but it was because it was like partly private, and because my parents thought it would be a really nice environment for me to grow up in, and it really was. It was a very small, nice school with only 2 classes per grade, and I thrived in that kind of environment. It was very clean and it was very encouraging, and we would actually have like those masses and everything, and learning prayers and doing the rosary and learning about stories in the Bible, but it was a very kind of like dry and religious ritual based thing. But having gone to that school, I didn't consider myself a Catholic or a believer of God, because those things are just external. You know, if you're just raised with it around you, it's just things that are happening on the outside. It doesn't necessarily determine what's on the inside, right? Your faith. So I have this memory, you know, there used to be these little glow in the dark things that you stick onto your bed frames and on the ceilings, and there was one of this little boy, like a little young boy with short hair, on his knees and praying. I had that like stuck on my bed frame, and I don't exactly remember what age it was, but it was during primary school when I went to that Catholic primary school. I went there until year 4, and then I changed to another school. But I just remember praying on my bed, like kneeling down and asking God, if you're real, show me. It was a really simple prayer, but I really wanted to know if he's real, because I heard about him. I heard so many stories about him. I just needed to know for myself. If he's a real being, then clearly you can talk to him, and clearly you can ask him, and clearly he can respond if he's God. So why not? So I just asked him, God, if you're real, please let me know you. I just want to know. I want to know you. If you're real. I didn't know if it was real. I was in the choir and when I was young, and I remember like singing those songs, and I loved like singing songs to him. Long story short, when I got to high school in year 7, in Australia there's this thing, I don't know about America, I'm sure you guys have it too, but in Australia there's this thing called Korean Saturday School, and this one was held at a local church for me, and it was this church called Sydney Full Gospel Church in Greenacre. They held the Korean Saturday schools completely aside from the church stuff. They held it at the same venue on Saturday mornings, and I would go there. So I used to walk there by myself on Saturdays, but I'd sometimes hang around with my friends and I'd stay back. There used to be this youth, like middle school ministry prayer meetings at 1 p.m. or something. And because I hung around sometimes, it would start, and after a while, sometimes out of curiosity, we would go, me and my friends. So I kind of just made my own way to church, and I started attending those prayer meetings. And I remember this was a very charismatic church where they speak in tongues and they pray very expressively out loud. And it made me really curious because I could feel the passion and I could feel that there was something spiritual about it. So yeah, I'd stay back. After a while, I ended up going weekly and actually starting to pray there as well. And it was a very different kind of environment from the Catholic Church. Not to say that one is better than the other, but you know, it's different. It's more expressive outwardly, and I wanted to know more about it. Until that point, my faith had been kind of building, and I was actually talking to God a lot. And internally, I was actually used to be like, I wonder if God is real, would he be pleased with what I'm doing right now? Like, I thought about this for everything that I did for a period of my life, how I talk to my parents or how I'm thinking about something. I don't know why, but I would constantly be thinking, I wonder if this is pleasing God. If he's watching me, I wonder if this is pleasing God, or if he's listening to my thoughts, I wonder if this thought is pleasing him. And one day they had a youth camp, you know, one of those church camp retreats like in the mountains. And I went to it. And for those who don't know what Christianity is about, there's this thing called fivefold ministry in which there are gifts of the Holy Spirit, and there are different roles that people have basically. So some are called to be teachers, and some are called to be apostles, some are called to be prophets, etc. Prophets are people who receive like words of knowledge from God. It's not like calling upon a genie, but whenever God allows, he gives a word to encourage another person. It's kind of like a download that you get. Even though you didn't know anything about this person, you kind of just receive something like an encouraging word for them. On the last night, there was an Australian guy who came. He was a prophet and he had the gift of prophecy. There were like 100 or 100, around like 100 kids at this camp, and I was like sitting at the back. And I remember he pointed straight at me and he told me to stand up. And me being this like shy, introverted kid, I was like really nervous, like what the heck, everyone's eyes are on me. But I stood up. He said to me, God knows what you've been thinking and he's really pleased with you. He wants you to know that he's really pleased with you. That can sound so weird, and if you take it out of context, it could be like an adult manipulating a kid, but no, it was totally like one of those moments where it's like, what the heck? How did he know? Like, I didn't tell anybody about like the way that I'd been thinking. I was doing things to please God. And he exactly pointed out the thing that I'd been doing, and he said, God is pleased with you, as in like he's delighted in you. He also told me a few other things. He said that he sees that I'm very pure in spirit. I didn't know what that meant at the time. And he also said, I can see in your future a lot of plane tickets, and I don't know what you'll be doing, but it looks like you'll be traveling a lot. So that's kind of like the key things that he said to me that night. I was so shocked that he's real. It's almost like someone broadcasted what was silently inside of my thoughts for like months and months, and I could just feel God's presence, and I knew that God was speaking through him to answer my thoughts, my own thoughts inside. It might sound a bit cuckoo, but so far I'm just totally being honest. This is my story, right? Okay, so that night we had a prayer night, and it's like one of those very Pentecostal prayer nights, like everyone's speaking in tongues and they're laying on hands and baptizing people, and I remember I received the gift of tongues that night. I also was like just breaking down. I was crying as I was praying because I felt so touched by God, and I could just feel his like love all over my body, and it was just warm. It was so peaceful, and it was just healing so many things within me, and I was just so amazed that he was real. I'm like getting a bit like choked up remembering it. So that's how I remember I first encountered God. So for me, it's a very experiential thing. I do think that if God is real, he doesn't just have to be a theory or something that you can comprehend with just your thoughts one-sided. You can ask him and he'll answer you. So I started going to church from then on, and I started to really like read my Bible and spend a lot of time in prayer and asking God many different things and finding out like a lot of I was just curious about a lot of questions. You know, there's tons of questions when you start to think about spiritual things, about the state of the world or why this happens, then how about this? Like, God is real, and he wants you to know. He is the author of intelligence and all knowledge, way more than us. He knows everything. So anyway, fast forward a little bit, guys. So year 9. Year 9 was when I was 15, I think, 14 or 15. There was this mission trip to Malaysia, and I really somehow wanted to go to this. It was a really weird thing. It wasn't part of like the youth ministry mission trip that we were going on all the time, but this was like with the adult service. and this is where I met my current pastor back in Sydney, dentist missionary. His name's Pastor John Lee. I went with him and a very small bunch of other adults. I was the youngest there, and this was actually full-on mission trip. It was like we were staying in the jungles where there's no lights, no technology. We would have baths in the local lakes at nighttime, eat the food that was caught there by the chickens running around. There was no toilet, so we would have like a hole, and it was in the longhouses of Malaysia. So those who are Malaysian may know they actually had skulls hanging from the ceilings of their prior ancestors who they used to eat. So they were cannibals until just a few generations ago. And we would like trek through the jungles and like move longhouses every day. We would kind of just preach the gospel and pray for people and give them medical aid. And I remember I did like nail polish for children. For some reason, I've always done that whenever I go to mission trips. I do like makeup or like nails for the kids or the girls. We also did like taekwondo ministry, and yeah, I have like really, really fond memories of this time that we went to Malaysia. We were actually joining local missionaries, and when we arrived there, the local missionary who guided us throughout the time, his name was Elder Ko. He also exercised many gifts of the Spirit, so gift of knowledge, gift of healing, miracles. And when you go on mission trips, you do a lot of preparation beforehand. So you get together and pray for the people, and you prepare your materials and things like that, right? And so that side was also preparing for us to come. And when we arrived, this elder said that when he was praying, God told him that he's gonna send a special girl, like his special daughter. I feel really weird to say this, I'm sorry, but this is what happened, okay? And God told him to take care of this special daughter that he's sending. He knew that it was me as soon as we arrived. So yeah, I was kind of like this shy little introverted, low self-confidence, low self-value girl, and knowing that God said that to that person, it was just like from that moment I just already felt amazed by God, and so like ready for him, you know? Okay, so that ended up being a crazy, unforgettable 2 weeks. Malaysia has always held a very special place in my heart after this experience, because essentially what happened was, as we were doing the mission trip, going around and ministering and praying and, you know, doing what we did, this elder, he specially drove me around and mentored me. So he taught me everything he knew. He taught me how he discerns spirits. So he was able to discern spirit and kind of see when a spirit is bugging a person. And that helps you to give deliverance to people as well and pray for healing, restoration. He just mentored me one-on-one through the whole time. And I'm like this 14-year-old girl just soaking everything in, because as I said, I'm very spiritual, so I could just sense God's spirit just enveloping the whole time that we were there. I could feel his peace. I felt so loved and amazed by just God telling me that, and like caring about me, that he would sorry y'all, I wasn't planning to cry. Just feeling his presence, knowing that he paid attention to me and he heard all of my prayers and my cries. And every night, Elder Ko would have times where he just ministered to me and prayed for me, and there was a lot of deliverance. So as I said, if you're new to Christianity and to like God, this is gonna be really weird. Like I have to say, it was a very unique experience, okay? But every night, so he would pray for me, God would show him things and he would pray for that. And for example, I had a very tumultuous relationship with my father, and I don't blame anybody. Everyone goes through different walks of life at different seasons, and it just so happened that growing up, I got into a lot of trouble by my dad. Like my dad would sometimes hit me out of anger, and my parents would fight sometimes. And so I don't know, like there were parts of me that were kind of broken because of that, and I had like anger towards my dad that I didn't know about. So he would know that, God would show him, he would lead me into forgiving people in my life. God even showed him things like my grandparents in America and how some things flowed down from them. It's called a generational curse, so those things were broken off. This man didn't know anything about me. This is just like God. When he wants to restore someone from what is kind of broken and not in the state that it should be, he loves to restore things, and he just brought a lot of healing that's supernatural. Like it's just something that I cannot explain. No one can explain this kind of thing. It's just God. And this is why I kind of recommend you to, if you're curious about God and you want to know if he's real, don't just rely on knowledge in general, because knowledge is dry by itself. But once it's tied in with a real experience with God, it's just something you know between you and him, because you ask him, you don't ask anyone else, but he answers you directly to the exact thing you've asked him. If that happens, this is called a relationship with God, and it's just God showing you over and over again. He's there, he's listening, he's real, he exists, he's just invisible. The spiritual world is invisible. Anyway, so every night I had like hours and hours of just crying, deliverance, and just so much joy and healing. And the highlight of Malaysia was when, until that time, my back had always hurt when I played the piano or sat down for long periods of time. And I didn't know why, but this elder co, he also had the gift of healing, gift of knowledge. He told me to stand up against the wall, slowly sit down and put my legs up in front of me like this. So I'm sitting with my back against the wall and my legs out like this. And my legs were uneven. I didn't know that, but apparently that is why my back had been hurting a lot. And I found out later that a lot of people have uneven legs, and that's why your back can hurt a lot, usually because of your pelvic bone being twisted. The crazy thing that happened was, I saw my legs were crooked. I was like, what the heck? And this elder put out his hands and he said the simplest prayer. He said, be healed in the name of Jesus. And not even kidding, guys. I'm seriously not kidding. Immediately after that prayer, my leg just grew out in front of my eyes. I was actually looking down at my legs. I forgot which leg it is now, but maybe it was my left. I think it was my left. It actually grew out like in 2-3 seconds. And not only that, I saw it move. I did not move my legs. I also heard the sound of my bone. I don't know what it was doing, growing, creaking, something, but it just went, and it was like perfectly even. So up until that point, I had been like amazed over and over again that, wow, God knew this about me and he cares about it. Like, he's the God of this universe. He made all these stars, but he cares so much about my little uneven legs, and he causes me to come to Malaysia and tells this guy to like take care of me, and then he like, what? I just felt so amazed, so humbled, so loved, and so in love with God, you know. And I remember we went around and prayed for other people who had crippled arms and stuff, and I remember seeing crippled arms like just opening up in the name of Jesus. Just simple prayers, very simple prayers. But just as a side note, a lot of healing is accompanied by forgiveness and releasing of bitterness and hurts and grudges that you hold on towards other people. It's just kind of the way that it works. So I think that had been what I've been going through, like a lot of healing, and then actual physical healing took place. And guys, like, I can't even, like, can you imagine being 14 years old, growing up in a first world country, going to like the jungles where there's no technology, no lights. We lived with candles and we slept on our sleeping bags with insects all around us. And we would shower in the black lakes, and it was beautiful though. And like having your legs healed in the middle of the jungles and seeing it grow in front of you and hearing the sound of your bones, and just having constant confirmation over and over again that God actually knows this about you and he wants to fix this, and just feeling it in your heart, like his closeness and his responses to your questions, and him telling you that you're so special and loved and showing it to you as well. I was overwhelmed, guys, and I was just so undone, and I was so in love. And I remember one night, you know, when you're in the jungles, you can see the beautiful stars. Like, it's just everywhere and it's incredible, right? I was sitting on the back of our truck and it was so peaceful. I could only hear the sound of crickets, and there was like a lake over there, and I could see the stars, and I was looking up at the stars and I was just having a moment with God. I could feel his presence, and I was just telling God that I love him and thank you for this moment. I'll remember this moment forever, and I want to live my life for you. I want to live my life together with you. And yeah, that's my special memory that I have with God that I'm now sharing publicly. So I went back, life was normal, my friends and family were still the same, but I had gone through this crazy stuff that I couldn't share with anybody. And I don't know why, but I actually didn't really share it with anybody. I think when you're young, you just don't feel like you need to share things. I'm not sure. Yeah, a lot of my friends didn't even know like what I'd been through and like why I was so different. Ever since then, it's been a journey for me. And I think I should do a separate video going into other stories after that. But that was the foundation of my life, essentially. I started to lead worship at church during high school. It was not easy though. I did go through a rough high school period where I did go through depression, my first love and heartbreak and depression and HSC. And I actually had like a huge experience at church where I was betrayed by my group of girlfriends that I had, and I would call it group bullying now, but this is why I never really wanted to ever do like a Draw My Life, because I don't want to categorize things in a way that is like labels and judges and gives the wrong message, because I don't hold any grudges against people or anything. We're just young, we're going through life, but I'm just kind of recounting what happened at that period of my life. So yeah, I did go through quite a lot afterwards as well. But then I got married very young. As soon as I left high school, I got married a year after. It's all been very kind of supernatural, and it's all been very extraordinary for me. So my journey with God started off as a genuine talk with Him, asking Him if He's real. And He showed me He's real, clearly. So be careful what you ask for to God, guys. But as long as you ask Him with a genuine heart, not out of like, are you really real, like testing God, but a humble heart, because God is God and we are not God. He is a loving God, but He's the creator of everything and He knows everything, and He's the ultimate judge. So also you need to be careful with what you do with your life. And so that's what the fear of God is called, just knowing who we are and knowing who God is. We are not God. We are humans, we make mistakes, and that's why we need Jesus, who died for us, to cover our sins so that we can have like a bridge to God and be able to have the access to the full restoration of what He intended for us when He first created us. So yeah, so just to wrap things up, guys, that's how I started off my walk in God, and it's been a journey ever since of just knowing more about Him, experiencing more miracles, deeper relationship, and still on a journey. I'm nowhere near perfect, and we will never be on this side of heaven, but you know, we strive to continue to know Him more as a Christian. So that only kind of talks about the first few years of my life and I've kind of skipped from 15 up till 30, but there are other stories that I could share with you guys that, you know, I might be able to share with you in the future if you guys are interested in these kind of topics and more of these kind of faith videos. But this is partly why, as I do beauty videos, along the way I kind of felt like, why am I doing this? This is so superficial. I love beauty, but it's not like 100% of who I am. It's maybe like 20% of my interests. I don't know, it just always felt like what I'm doing might be a little bit shallow, but I still enjoy it as well. So I've come to terms with being a beauty guru, but acknowledging that I have other interests as well. And I love a variety of different topics, and that's why my videos have a variety of content all the time. But I'm sure you guys know that, and I've always wanted to share my story with you. And genuinely, guys, my heart is simply that that everybody knows that God loves them. I just wish everyone could meet Him and experience Him. I'm sure everybody, no matter what your faith is, at one point in your life, you will question if God is real. It's like you're standing on the edge of a cliff with the huge ocean ahead of you, and it's so big, the huge mountains, the cliffs, the skies and the heavens, it's beyond us, you know. We know at the end of the day that we're small. Like one freak accident and we're dead, you know? So I think there are definitely times in our life, especially if you've ever been at like a near-death experience, like almost drowning or something, like the thing you would do just before you die, even if you live your whole life just not really believing in it, not thinking that God is real, there will be a point in everyone's life where you actually try and talk to God. Ask Him, help me. That's like the main one, help me. Or, are you real, God? Let me know if you're real. And so I think that's where faith begins, where you just, it's real. It's like a real thing. You're not asking a pastor, you're not asking, of course pastors are good and community is great, you really need it. You actually really need each other. But just asking God Himself. I really encourage you guys, if you are on a journey to finding out about the truth and you genuinely want to know if He's real, and you're putting down your pride, you're putting down like all your knowledge of like how you think the world works and thinking that you know everything about life, if you just for a moment put it down and just maybe entertain the idea that there is a God who knows everything and knows everything about you, created you, designed you, purposed you, and has a meaning for your life and everyone's life. And there's something beyond what we see physically just with our physical eyes, you know, something greater, something that moves behind the scenes. This is the God that I know is real, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, and he sent his son Jesus. And if you, not to downplay any other religions, I really do respect all your beliefs and walks of faith. But for me, as someone talking from my personal experience, I know he's real. That's what I encourage you guys to do. Just ask him and he will surely show you in your own time. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Oppa is home now, but that's my testimony, how I first came to know God. If you'd like to know more about my later stories and other stuff, please, yeah, just let me know. I'm open to sharing about my faith as well and spiritual stuff as well as like fun beauty stuff. Hopefully this did not offend you guys in any way, but maybe just made you think about things a little bit more. Yeah, so that's it for today's video. My cup of tea is still here and Oppa's home. Bye! I sincerely hope and pray that you have a joyful, happy week, a week of revelation and truth-seeking. Yes. And also, Grumpy Oppa and I are going to be starting podcasts soon, so we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics from news to like beauty stuff, our life stories, advice, faith even. So do stay tuned for that, and if you have any suggestions for what we should call that podcast, please let me know in the comments below because I still have not decided. Muse podcast, Grumps and Jen and the Grumps. I have no idea, guys. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. Jen signing off. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and hope it sort of connected and made you guys at least know a little bit more about me, maybe. It's my history, it's my childhood. So yeah, even if you don't reside with my faith stuff at all, like that's completely fine. I'm sharing more about me. So hopefully you guys got to know me a bit more. Thank you for spending time with me today. And if you have any other topics that you'd like me to talk about in the future, please let me know and I'll do it with a cup of tea next time. Don't forget to follow me on my social media if you want to, and subscribe for more videos, as well as turn on that notification bell button. Remember that you're beautiful inside and out, and I'll see you guys all in my next video. Bye everyone! 다음에 또 봐요.